Atmospheric engine-powered race cars are amazing, and usually rev stratospherically high. Their turbo counterparts, on the other hand, are a lot less predictable and crazy, as the turbos are normally bigger than in any other production car. This increases low-end turbo lag and moves usable RPM up in the rev range with a massive boost kick whenever the turbo spools up. In this video, let me introduce you some of the most extreme boosted race cars in the business. Porsche 917/30. Based on the Porsche 908, the 917 was created only with one goal: to win 24 hours of Le Mans with a 4.5-liter flat 12. From this point, it would race various events, which was rounded out with the Can-Am series. A 750 horsepower 16-cylinder was first considered, but eventually they went with the twin-turbocharged 5.4-liter, which was capable of 1600 horsepower at 2.7 bar of boost during qualifications. It adds up to almost 2000 horsepower per ton. BRM V16. The BRM V16 was designed very shortly after the World War II for their very own Formula 1 car. The Rolls-Royce two-stage centrifugal supercharger was forcing up to 5.7 bar of air inside tiny, almost squared cylinders. While it produced only 100 horsepower at 5000 RPM, at double of that speed, the engine was making over 585 horsepower. With even better parts installed and race fuel in the tank, the V16 was said to be capable of 1000 horsepower and 14,000 RPM. Pretty crazy for a city car's engine displacement. Ford RS200 Evolution. Ford was willing to compete in the Group B, but first plan suggested a rear-wheel drive 1.7-liter turbo concept. Soon after, they turned it down, creating a new project with Ghia-designed body, 4-wheel drive and 1.8-liter Cosworth engine. They went so far that later on, the engine was enlarged to 2.1 liters, even bigger turbo with potential from 588 horsepower at 1.6 bar up to 815 horsepower with over 2 bars. Supposedly, the engine would work for 10 hours at most at racing pace. BMW Benetton B186. The year of 1986 was full of the craziest Formula 1 cars, which had never been seen before or even later after. It was the time when BMW was an engine supplier for a couple of teams, including Benetton. The M12 unit was the most powerful in the series, with up to 1400 horsepower in the qualification trim, with the B186 being the best chassis with this power plant. Boost pressures up to 5.5 bar were recorded. Porsche 956. Theoretically saying, the Porsche 956 is the fastest car in the world if Nürburgring times were the only one taken under consideration, with a time of 6 minutes, 11 seconds and 13 hundredths. Stefan Belov set the record in 1983, which has never been broken ever since. Possibly a contemporary Formula 1 would be faster, but the last ones from 1974 were at least 45 seconds slower. Ferrari F40 LM. The Ferrari F40 is rare and got it from the factory, so it is no surprise that it is a one-purpose car. But the race version called F40 LM was even rarer, lighter, more brutal, and actually a lot more powerful. Officially it wasn't even planned, but as it happened, on top of all that, Ferrari squeezed up to 300 more horsepower from the engine. Some sources mentioned that output up to 900 horsepower was recorded. McLaren MP4/4. As Senna's 1988 race car, the MP4/4 is said to have the most dominant single-season car winning rate of 93.8% ever. The car won 15 out of 16 races, 8 of which were Senna's. The engine, the Honda RA168E, had an output reduced from 960 horsepower caused by a lower boost pressure from 4 to 2.5 bar in order to meet the new 150 liters of fuel for race distance regulation. Renault 5 Turbo. You know those little women which make the greatest noise? This guy is like that. It is tiny, but you don't want to mess around with it. The 5 Turbo is different to other versions, mainly in its layout. The engine was placed in front of the rear axle, powering rear wheels. Imagine that this small light thing had from 160 up to 360 horsepower. Nissan Skyline GTR Group A. The Group A was held by Fiat to race production-derived vehicles in touring and rally events. Since a production number of 500 had to be made, the Skyline GTR Nismo was introduced. However, it was still a soft-cored ring compared to a race-spec Group A model, which featured a 550 horsepower engine and less than 1300 kilograms of weight. It was extremely dominant in Australian and domestic championships. It was called a Godzilla for a reason. Audi Quattro S1. With the whole engine in front of the front axle like a typical Audi and long overhangs, it was a strangely looking and behaving car in the Group B. They started with at least 350 horsepower, but climbed over 500 horsepower mark pretty soon, as such a power was achieved with a huge turbo lag down below, and an anti-lag system was used. People loved it as much as the extraordinarily sounding 5-cylinder. Stig Blomqvist and Walter Roll made sure that this is one of the all-time best and beloved race car in the world.